The silence lasted exactly 7 seconds. 7 seconds where Jennifer Walsh stood frozen at the Family Feud podium, her hand instinctively reaching up to touch the perfectly styled auburn hair that wasn't really hers. 7 seconds where 300 people in the studio audience held their breath, sensing something profound was about to unfold. 7 seconds where Steve Harvey, master of quick comebacks and instant wit, found himself watching a woman wrestle with a truth too heavy for a game show stage. The question had been simple enough: name something people are proud of. It should have been easy. People are proud of their children, their achievements, their homes, their careers. But Jennifer Walsh, standing under the bright lights of America's favorite game show, couldn't find her voice, because the thing she was most proud of, the thing that had taken every ounce of strength she possessed, wasn't something she'd ever said out loud on television. It was Tuesday afternoon at the Family Feud studios in Atlanta, and the energy was exactly what you'd expect. Two families faced off for the $20,000 prize. The Walsh family from Denver, Colorado, and the Martinez family from San Antonio, Texas. Standard setup, standard questions, standard laughs. Steve was in his element, working the crowd with his signature blend of humor and charm. His navy suit impeccable, his timing perfect, but Jennifer Walsh carried a secret that weighed more than any game show prize. At 38, Jennifer looked like the picture of health and vitality. Her auburn hair fell in perfect waves past her shoulders, catching the studio lights with every movement. Her makeup was flawless, her smile radiant, her energy infectious. She'd been the star of her family's team through the first 4 rounds, nailing answers with confidence and celebrating each success with genuine joy. What the audience didn't know, what the cameras couldn't see, was that 2 years ago, Jennifer Walsh had been given 6 months to live. The diagnosis had come on a Thursday morning in March: stage 3 breast cancer, aggressive and spreading. Dr. Martinez had delivered the news with the clinical precision that doctors learn to hide their own heartbreak behind. Chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, a 50-50 chance, maybe less. And then the conversation that had broken her more than the diagnosis itself: she would lose her hair. For most people, hair loss during cancer treatment is a secondary concern, a vanity issue that pales in comparison to the fight for life itself. But for Jennifer, her hair had been her identity. Long, thick, naturally auburn, with highlights that caught the sun just right. It was the first thing people noticed about her, the feature that had made her feel beautiful since childhood, the part of herself that had remained constant through every change life had thrown at her. The day her hair started falling out in clumps, Jennifer had locked herself in her bathroom and cried for 3 hours. Not for the cancer, she was ready to fight that battle, but for the woman in the mirror who was disappearing strand by strand, becoming someone she didn't recognize. The wig had been expensive, custom-made to match her natural color and texture exactly. It was so perfect that even her closest friends couldn't tell the difference. But Jennifer could feel it every second of every day, the weight of the secret she wore, the reminder that the person everyone saw wasn't quite real. Now, 18 months in remission and cancer-free, Jennifer still wore the wig, not because she had to. Her natural hair had grown back, shorter and darker than before, but healthy and strong. She wore it because taking it off meant revealing the woman who had fought cancer, and she wasn't ready for the world to see her as anything other than normal. The game had progressed normally through the first rounds. Jennifer's family was leading by a narrow margin, and Steve had been particularly charmed by their dynamic. The Walsh family was close-knit and supportive, celebrating each other's successes with genuine enthusiasm and maintaining their humor even when answers didn't make the board. During family introductions, Steve had complimented Jennifer on her beautiful hair, and she'd smiled and thanked him while her heart raced with the familiar anxiety of maintaining her secret. For 2 years, she'd perfected the art of deflecting compliments about her appearance, of smiling through the irony of being praised for something that wasn't even hers. Now, in the final round, with everything on the line, Steve was asking the question that would determine the winner. But what he'd inadvertently done was ask Jennifer to confront the things she'd been hiding from the world. "Jennifer," Steve said, his voice carrying the gravity of the moment, "for the win, I need you to tell me, name something people are proud of." The studio was quiet, except for the hum of cameras and the soft murmur of audience members leaning forward in anticipation. This should have been straightforward: family, career, accomplishments, home ownership. Any of a dozen answers that would secure the victory and send the Walsh family home with $20,000. But Jennifer stood frozen, her hand moving unconsciously to her hairline, her mind racing through 2 years of carefully constructed normalcy, 2 years of pretending that the woman everyone saw was the woman she really was. Behind the scenes, something unprecedented was about to happen. But first, the moment had to break Jennifer's carefully maintained facade. Jennifer started, then stopped. Her voice was smaller than it had been all day, uncertain in a way that made Steve step closer to the podium. "Take your time," Steve said gently. But there was something in Jennifer's expression that made him pause his usual encouragement. This wasn't game show nerve. This was something deeper. Jennifer looked at her family lined up at their podium. Her husband Mark, her teenage children Emma and Jake, her mother Patricia. They were all watching with supportive smiles, completely unaware that their wife, mother, and daughter was about to do something that would change everything. "Steve," Jennifer said, her voice barely audible through the microphone, "can I tell you something?" The question hung in the air like a prayer. Steve's expression changed immediately. In 40 years of hosting, he'd learned to recognize the moments when television stopped being entertainment and started being life. "Of course," Steve said, abandoning his position behind the podium and walking closer to Jennifer. "What do you want to tell me?" Jennifer's hand moved to her hairline again, and this time, Steve noticed the gesture. There was something about the way she touched her hair, not like someone fixing their style, but like someone checking to make sure something was still in place. "The thing I'm most proud of," Jennifer said, her voice gaining strength, "isn't something you can see." The studio was completely silent now. Even the production crew had stopped moving, sensing that something extraordinary was happening. "Help me understand," Steve said, his voice gentle but carrying clearly through the studio. Jennifer looked at her family again, then back at Steve. When she spoke, her words carried the weight of 2 years of secrets, 2 years of hiding, 2 years of being proud of something she'd never been able to share. "I'm proud that I'm alive." The words hit the studio like a physical force. Steve's expression changed completely, understanding beginning to dawn on his face. 2 years ago, Jennifer continued, her voice stronger now, "I was diagnosed with breast cancer, stage 3. The doctors gave me 6 months, maybe less." Gasps rippled through the audience. At the Walsh family podium, her husband Mark's hand went to his mouth, tears already forming in his eyes. Their children looked stunned, not because they didn't know about the cancer, but because their mother had never spoken about it so publicly, so boldly. "I fought," Jennifer said, and now there was power in her voice, the kind of strength that comes from surviving the unsurvivable. "Chemotherapy, radiation, surgery. I fought for my life, and I won." Steve was openly emotional now, his usual composure completely gone. "Jennifer," he said, his voice thick with admiration, That's incredible." But Jennifer wasn't finished. Her hand moved to her hairline one more time, and this time, she made a decision that would define this moment forever. "But winning came with a cost," she said. "I lost parts of myself along the way. Parts that I've been hiding ever since." Behind the scenes, Steve made a decision that defied every rule of television production. What happened next has been called one of the most powerful moments in game show history. Jennifer Walsh, standing under the bright lights of the Family Feud studio, reached up with both hands and slowly, deliberately removed her wig. The studio fell completely silent. 300 people watched as Jennifer revealed her natural hair, shorter, darker, with patches still thin from treatment, but undeniably real. It was the hair of a survivor, the hair of a woman who had fought death and won. "This is who I really am," Jennifer said, holding her wig in her hands, like a symbol of everything she'd hidden. "I'm proud that I'm alive. I'm proud that I fought. I'm proud that I survived. But most of all, I'm proud that I'm finally brave enough to let people see the real me." The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then the studio erupted. 300 people rose to their feet in an ovation that went on for minutes. But it wasn't applause for entertainment. It was recognition of courage, of honesty, of the kind of bravery that most people never have to summon. Steve Harvey, the man who had made America laugh for decades, found himself crying openly on national television. He walked to Jennifer, took her hands in his, and spoke words that would be remembered long after the game show ended. "Jennifer," he said, his voice carrying across the silent studio, "you just taught this entire room something about real beauty, real strength, real pride." But Steve wasn't finished. He reached up and removed his own signature hat, the one he wore for every taping, part of his carefully cultivated television image. "You know what?" Steve said, placing his hat on Jennifer's head, covering her natural hair with something that belonged to him. "Beauty isn't about having perfect hair or looking like everyone expects. Beauty is about surviving. Beauty is about fighting. Beauty is about having the courage to show the world who you really are." The hat was too big for Jennifer's head, but she wore it with more dignity than any crown. The symbol was clear to everyone in the studio. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was celebrating. "Ladies and gentlemen," Steve announced to the studio, "we just witnessed something more valuable than any prize we could give away. We witnessed real courage. But this is the moment no one in the studio, and no one watching at home, ever saw coming." Steve turned to the Martinez family, who had been watching this unfold with tears in their own eyes. "Martinez family," he said, "I need to ask you something. Jennifer just showed us what real winning looks like. Would you be okay if we said both families won today?" Carlos Martinez, the father of the competing family, didn't hesitate for even a second. "Steve," he said, his voice emotional, "that woman just won something bigger than any game. We're honored just to be here." The studio erupted again, but Steve still wasn't finished. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out something unexpected, a small card that he kept for special occasions. "Jennifer," he said, "this is my personal business card. I want you to have it, because I want you to call me in 6 months, in a year, in 5 years. I want you to tell me how many other people you've inspired to stop hiding, to stop being ashamed of their survival, to start being proud of their scars." Jennifer took the card with shaking hands, but when she looked up at Steve, her eyes were clear and strong. "Steve," she said, "I've been hiding for 2 years. I've been pretending to be someone I'm not because I was ashamed of what cancer did to me. But standing here looking at all these people, I realized something." "What's that?" Steve asked. "I'm not ashamed anymore. I'm proud. I'm proud of every day I fought. I'm proud of every treatment I endured. I'm proud of every morning I woke up and chose to keep living. And I'm proud that maybe, just maybe, someone watching this will see that it's okay to be different. It's okay to be scarred. It's okay to be a survivor." The cameras captured every moment of what happened next. Jennifer's family rushed from their podium to embrace her, not the woman they'd been protecting for 2 years, but the warrior she'd always been. The Martinez family joined them, creating a circle of love and support around someone who had just shown them what courage looked like. As the cameras finally stopped rolling and the audience began to file out, something beautiful continued to unfold. Women in the audience approached Jennifer, sharing their own stories of cancer, of hair loss, of hiding parts of themselves they thought were too difficult for the world to see. But perhaps the most meaningful moment came from an unexpected source. A young girl, maybe 12 years old, approached Jennifer with tears in her eyes. "My mom has cancer," the girl whispered. "She wears a wig too, and she's really sad about it. Can I tell her about you?" Jennifer knelt down to the girl's level, still wearing Steve's oversized hat, and spoke words that would change both their lives. "You tell your mom that her hair doesn't make her beautiful," Jennifer said. "Her fight makes her beautiful. Her love for you makes her beautiful. Her strength makes her beautiful. And if she ever wants to take off her wig and show the world what a real warrior looks like, she should be proud to do it." 6 months later, the episode aired exactly as it happened, with no editing to remove Jennifer's unprecedented moment of revelation. The response was unlike anything in game show history. Thousands of cancer survivors reached out to share their own stories of hiding, of shame, of the journey from survival to pride. Jennifer became an advocate for cancer survivors, speaking at hospitals and support groups about the courage it takes, not just to fight the disease, but to embrace the person you become afterward. She still has Steve's hat, and she wears it to every speaking engagement as a reminder that sometimes the most beautiful thing you can do is show the world your scars. Steve Harvey learned something that day that changed how he approaches every show, every contestant, every moment he spends in front of those cameras. He learned that sometimes the most powerful moments in television happen when people stop pretending to be perfect and start celebrating their survival. The wig that Jennifer removed that day sits in a frame in her living room, next to a photo of her family celebrating her 2-year remission anniversary. It's not hidden away in shame. It's displayed as a symbol of the journey from fear to pride, from hiding to healing. Jennifer's natural hair has grown back completely now, fuller and healthier than ever, but she still occasionally wears wigs, not to hide who she is, but as a choice, as a celebration of the woman who survived and the woman she's become. The question that terrified Jennifer, name something people are proud of, became the question that freed her. Because the answer wasn't about achievements or possessions or appearances. The answer was about survival, about courage, about the kind of pride that comes from fighting for your life and winning. The cancer survivor's wig wasn't a disguise anymore. It became a symbol of the journey from darkness to light, from shame to pride, from hiding to healing. And sometimes the most beautiful thing you can wear is the courage to take off your mask and show the world who you really are.